Do not mistake the atmosphere surrounding this Saturday for something ordinary, because beneath the celebrations, beneath the familiar traditions and the ordinary rhythm of the day, an extraordinary sequence is already gathering strength. Most people will move through the holiday completely unaware that an exceptionally rare pattern is unfolding overhead, and by the time they recognize its significance, the turning point will already have passed. The 4th of July is carrying far more than a date on the calendar. It arrives as the stage for one of the most intense astrological activations of this entire decade. Yet only a remarkably small number of people are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually prepared to recognize what it truly represents. If you have felt an unusual sense that something larger is approaching, that feeling is not appearing without purpose. There is a reason your intuition has become louder than usual, and before this message ends, you will understand why. First, however, you need to see the entire pattern instead of only the individual pieces. At this very moment, 3 of the most influential outer planets within our solar system have simultaneously entered new zodiac signs for the first time in centuries. Pause for a moment and allow the magnitude of that statement to settle into your awareness. Centuries have passed since these enormous celestial movements aligned in this way. Uranus has entered Gemini. Neptune has crossed into Aries. Pluto now stands within Aquarius. These are not isolated transitions taking place independently. Together they mark the beginning of an entirely different energetic landscape. History has shown that whenever movements remotely comparable to this have occurred, societies did not simply experience gradual improvement. Entire ways of living, believing, and organizing reality transformed so dramatically that previous eras became almost unrecognizable. Yet even those monumental sign changes are only preparing the stage for what arrives next. Saturday introduces the catalyst. Mars is preparing to meet Uranus in a configuration powerful enough to send a wave throughout the collective energetic field. That alone would be extraordinary, but the sequence does not end there. Merely 18 hours afterward, Mars establishes a direct connection with Neptune, opening an exceptionally rare energetic passage that resembles what many would describe as a manifestation portal. Opportunities of this precision do not appear often. The timing is so exact that the decisions you make while this opening remains active may influence the direction of the chapter that follows in your own life. If recent days have left you feeling strangely charged, almost as though invisible currents have been moving beneath your skin, creating an unexplained inner urgency, or making it difficult to settle your thoughts, do not dismiss those sensations as random stress or imagination. There is a very specific astrological reason those experiences are emerging now, and before long, every piece will connect. For now, remain with me, because understanding this week's unfolding pattern is essential. Among the 12 zodiac signs, 3 are approaching what could become the strongest cosmic approval they have ever encountered. Should your sign be among them, overlooking these moments could become one of the greatest missed opportunities of the entire year. The deeper story remains almost completely absent from ordinary conversations, because most discussions reduce this period to a single planetary transit. They speak as though Mars is simply making another temporary aspect before moving on. That interpretation misses the far greater architecture already assembled across the heavens. What is activating now has been quietly constructing itself since 2025, almost unnoticed by anyone who is not carefully observing the larger planetary cycle. Pluto's placement in Aquarius, Uranus moving through Gemini, and Neptune entering Aries together create far more than 3 independent events. These immense planetary forces now occupy positions that establish a geometric arrangement known as a minor grand trine. Imagine a triangular network whose corners are held by revolution, profound transformation, and spiritual awakening. Instead of functioning separately, these energies become interconnected, supporting one another as though linked by unseen pathways carrying tremendous potential. Picture 3. Massive power stations spread across a landscape, each silently generating enormous reserves of electricity. Although every station is operating, the full system remains dormant until something activates the circuit connecting them all. That activating force is Mars. When the calendar reaches the 4th of July, Mars does not gently awaken this formation. It arrives with overwhelming momentum, striking the dormant network with unmistakable intensity. During the early hours of Saturday morning, Mars reaches Uranus at 3 degrees and 52 minutes of Gemini. The image resembles a bolt of lightning crashing into an enormous electrical grid. The impact does not remain isolated where the strike occurs. Instead, energy races through the entire triangular formation almost instantly, energizing Uranus first, then continuing toward Neptune, before finally surging into Pluto. Within approximately 30 hours, Mars has transmitted its force across every one of these powerful outer planets. This sequence is extraordinarily uncommon. The speed with which these activations occur, the precision of their timing, and the synchronized nature of the entire formation place this event far outside the rhythm of an ordinary year. Even across an average lifetime, moments of comparable intensity are exceptionally difficult to find. That this unfolds during what has already become one of the most volatile periods of planetary movement in modern history should not be dismissed as meaningless coincidence. Instead, it resembles a cosmic announcement declaring that a significant threshold has been reached. Naturally, the next question becomes personal. How will this actually feel inside your own experience? The answer is far more physical than many expect. This is not simply symbolic language describing invisible ideas. Around 2 o'clock during Saturday night, Mars and Uranus unite at the exact same degree within Gemini. Mars embodies action, determination, courage, physical momentum, and the impulse that refuses to remain motionless. Uranus represents disruption, innovation, liberation, and the force that removes structures whose purpose has already expired while introducing entirely new possibilities. When these two planetary powers merge, the sensation resembles a surge of electricity moving directly through your awareness. Thoughts may begin arriving with astonishing speed, faster than you can comfortably organize them. Your mind may seem illuminated from within, not through discomfort, but through an overwhelming flood of clarity. Inspiration may appear suddenly while you are sleeping, causing you to awaken with an insight so undeniable that it feels as though it originated somewhere beyond ordinary thinking. In other cases, the catalyst may arrive through external circumstances. A conversation unexpectedly reveals the missing truth. A message appears at exactly the right moment. A single headline completely alters your perspective. New information enters your world and immediately rearranges the way you interpret everything that came before it. This is the true nature of the severance initiated by the Mars and Uranus conjunction. It does not negotiate with comfort, nor does it wait for perfect emotional readiness. Whatever has completed its purpose begins separating from your path. Relationships maintained only because they feel familiar begin revealing fractures that can no longer remain hidden. Professional directions sustained only through obligation start losing their stability. Long-held assumptions about your own limitations, especially those that quietly convinced you to remain smaller than your true potential, begin breaking apart with unmistakable force. Although this process may initially appear disruptive, every fracture exposes the space required for an entirely different future to emerge, and what follows from this point forward will reveal why this extraordinary activation has arrived exactly when it has. What catches so many people off guard is not the intensity alone, but the speed with which everything changes. The transition offers almost no warning, no comfortable period of adjustment, no gradual unfolding that allows your mind to prepare. Life can appear completely familiar one moment, and before you have time to process what has happened, the landscape has already shifted into something entirely different. That is the nature of this activation. It does not negotiate with the version of reality you have grown accustomed to. Once this conjunction reaches its peak, the patterns that belong to your previous chapter cannot continue existing in exactly the same way. Something inevitably reaches its conclusion. Something releases its hold. Something that once felt permanent suddenly proves it was only temporary all along. This realization often creates fear, because the human mind naturally clings to what it recognizes, even when that familiarity quietly limits future growth. Yet the deeper truth hidden beneath this experience tells a very different story. What appears to be loss is often the first visible sign that freedom has finally arrived. The universe does not randomly dismantle foundations that are still aligned with your path. Instead, it removes barriers that have quietly separated you from the direction your life has been attempting to move toward for far longer than you realize. Every ending created under this alignment serves a purpose that extends beyond the immediate discomfort. Every crack that appears creates space for something stronger to emerge. The moment you stop interpreting these changes as punishment and begin recognizing them as preparation, your entire perspective transforms. Then the next phase begins, and that is where the energy shifts from disruption into creation. Earlier, I mentioned the unusual sensation many people have been experiencing recently, the strange current moving beneath the surface, the feeling that something inside your body has already recognized a truth your conscious thoughts have not fully understood. That mysterious inner restlessness is directly connected to what follows the Mars and Uranus conjunction. Approximately 18 hours after that powerful encounter, Mars reaches an exact sextile with Neptune at 4 degrees and 24 minutes. This is the point where an entirely different quality of energy enters the picture. If the previous conjunction resembled a brilliant flash of lightning tearing across the sky and clearing away everything unstable, this aspect resembles the life-giving rain that arrives afterward, calming the atmosphere while nourishing the ground that has just been opened. Its presence carries a quieter strength, yet its influence reaches astonishing depth. There is something deeply visionary within this alignment, something that feels almost sacred because it reconnects the visible world with the invisible one. Neptune has always represented dreams, intuition, imagination, and the unseen currents that quietly link inner vision with outer reality. During this extraordinary period, however, Neptune is no longer traveling through a passive water sign. It now moves through Aries, a sign associated with courage, initiative, leadership, and decisive action. Aries does not remain satisfied with possibility alone. It moves toward experience. It transforms inspiration into movement. It refuses to allow vision to remain trapped inside imagination. That single shift changes the entire nature of manifestation throughout this rare window. This is no longer an invitation to simply sit in silence while hoping reality eventually reflects your intentions. Instead, the heavens encourage a completely different relationship between spiritual awareness and physical action. Neptune in Aries introduces a powerful archetype that blends divine guidance with fearless execution. It reflects the image of the spiritual warrior, someone who receives inspiration from higher realms, yet understands that true transformation requires deliberate movement in the physical world. When Mars forms its harmonious sextile with Neptune, an energetic bridge appears between determination and intuition, between human effort and spiritual guidance. During this passage, instincts begin carrying unusual precision. Feelings that once seemed impossible to explain suddenly function like reliable instructions. Inner knowing becomes so clear that it resembles an internal compass pointing steadily toward exactly where your next step belongs. The future you have quietly imagined, the possibilities you have carried privately within your heart, and the life you have been constructing inside your thoughts, all begin discovering a genuine opening through which they can enter tangible reality. Yet there is an essential truth about sextiles that many people overlook, and understanding it may become the difference between transformation and regret. Unlike aspects that force change upon you whether you are ready or not, a sextile presents opportunity without removing personal responsibility. It unlocks the entrance, but it never carries you across the threshold. The invitation exists, yet the decision remains yours. If the shock created by the earlier Mars and Uranus conjunction convinces you to hesitate, if uncertainty persuades you to postpone action until circumstances appear more comfortable, or if fear whispers that another opportunity will surely arrive later, the opening eventually disappears. The passage does not remain available forever. What possessed the potential to reshape your entire direction can quietly dissolve into another memory of what might have been. The universe provides access to the energetic frequency during this remarkable alignment, but only your willingness to respond determines whether that frequency becomes lived experience. There is another remarkable layer to this story that deepens its significance even further. The historical timing surrounding this alignment carries symbolism capable of sending chills through anyone paying close attention. The United States of America was established on the 4th of July in the year 1076. Within that founding astrological chart, Mars and Uranus stand together in Gemini, forming the very same conjunction returning once again this Saturday. Uranus requires approximately 84 years to complete one orbit around the Sun, meaning it revisits its original position only about 3 times across 250 years. Each return has coincided with defining moments in American history. The first return aligned with the Civil War. The second unfolded alongside the Second World War and the arrival of the atomic bomb. Now the third return emerges precisely as the nation reaches its 250th birthday, while Mars once again joins Uranus in Gemini, recreating the same essential pattern. Every occurrence of this alignment throughout American history has accompanied periods of irreversible transformation, revolutionary change, liberation, the collapse of existing structures, and the dramatic emergence of entirely new realities. Recognizing this larger pattern helps explain why the collective atmosphere surrounding Saturday may feel unusually unstable. Tensions between nations may intensify. Unexpected disruptions affecting infrastructure may emerge without warning. Ideological divisions could become more visible. Advances and sudden shifts involving technology and communication may accelerate at surprising speed. The outer world has the potential to feel unpredictable, emotionally charged, and difficult to interpret through ordinary expectations. Yet there is another truth hidden beneath that apparent disorder. Collective upheaval and personal breakthrough are not opposing forces. They frequently arise together because the same energetic pressure capable of reshaping society also creates momentum for profound individual transformation. While many become overwhelmed by external confusion, others recognize opportunity inside the movement itself. Those who remain unconscious react automatically to every wave of uncertainty surrounding them. Those who cultivate awareness respond differently. Instead of being consumed by the noise, they recognize the current beneath it. Instead of allowing rapid change to dictate their future, they consciously move with the energy already carrying them toward the next stage of their own evolution. And understanding who is most prepared to do exactly that is where the story naturally continues. Because Gemini answers to Mercury, and Mercury is your ruling planet, this entire sequence resonates through your chart with unusual intensity. The effects are not limited to one isolated area of your circumstances. They reach directly into the center of your identity, influencing the way you think, communicate, decide, and move through the world each day. For Virgo, this is not an event observed from a distance. It is an experience that reshapes your personal operating system from within. As the Mars and Uranus activation ignites your professional direction, the exact sextile between Mars and Neptune extends that momentum into your solar 8th house, the domain associated with shared resources, investments, financial collaboration, psychological renewal, and the assets that flow through partnerships rather than individual effort alone. Suddenly, the bold decisions you make in your career begin creating opportunities that reach far beyond recognition alone. Financial burdens that once felt impossible to untangle begin losing their grip. Strategic alliances emerge with surprising ease. Investors, collaborators, and influential people recognize that your preparation, discipline, and expertise are exactly what they have been searching for. Resources naturally begin moving towards someone who has already demonstrated the ability to use them wisely. This is not random fortune appearing without reason. It is the visible reward for years of careful work, finally meeting the right moment. As Venus enters your own sign on July 9th, another layer of support arrives. Your natural appeal becomes even stronger. Your presence carries greater confidence. Others respond more positively to your ideas, your leadership, and your vision. The recognition you have quietly earned finally catches up with the effort you invested long before anyone noticed. Strategy meets appreciation. Dedication meets opportunity. The symbolic crown that has patiently waited for its rightful moment is no longer resting out of reach. It finally settles where it has belonged all along. Scorpio, your journey carries an entirely different emotional landscape, yet its transformation is equally profound. Recent months have demanded extraordinary resilience from you. Again and again, you have been asked to release old identities, confront hidden emotional patterns, and walk through inner territory that many people spend an entire lifetime avoiding. While others may never fully understand the weight you have carried, you know every lesson written into those experiences. Every scar, every disappointment, every difficult realization has shaped the person standing here now. July marks the point where that prolonged period of endurance begins transforming into something entirely different. Mars has long been recognized as your traditional ruler, making its movements especially significant within your personal cycle. Whenever Mars experiences major activations, you often feel them with exceptional depth, and this conjunction with Uranus unfolds inside your solar 8th house, one of the most powerful areas of your chart because it governs death, rebirth, regeneration, and complete transformation. Something profound begins opening inside you. This is not the sensation of falling apart. It is the experience of breaking free from limitations that have quietly defined your life for far too long. Fears that once seemed impossible to overcome begin losing their influence with astonishing speed. Emotional patterns that silently controlled your decisions suddenly release their hold. Invisible psychological restraints that you scarcely realized were still surrounding you fall away almost effortlessly. Financial ties that kept you connected to unhealthy circumstances begin dissolving, creating room for healthier possibilities to emerge. It resembles the release of water held behind a massive barrier for years. Once that barrier gives way, stagnant energy finally begins moving again, carrying away what no longer belongs while creating space for an entirely different future. From there, the harmonious sextile between Mars and Neptune directs this internal liberation into your solar 6th house, the realm governing everyday routines, work habits, personal health, craftsmanship, and the quality of your daily life. This is where extraordinary spiritual change begins expressing itself through practical results. Inner transformation no longer remains hidden inside your emotional world. It becomes visible through improved performance, healthier routines, renewed vitality, and opportunities that initially appear modest but gradually develop into achievements capable of attracting widespread professional recognition. Throughout Cancer season, an additional layer of intuitive support surrounds you, strengthening one of your greatest natural gifts. Your instincts become remarkably accurate. You begin sensing possibilities long before they become obvious to everyone else. You notice subtle openings others overlook completely. While many hesitate, waiting for certainty before acting, you recognize the direction almost immediately and move with quiet confidence. The mindset of simply surviving, which has influenced so much of your recent experience, gradually fades into the background. In its place arrives something far more expansive: genuine growth, sustainable progress, lasting momentum capable of carrying you much farther than you imagined only a short time ago. Before this remarkable sequence concludes, there is one additional detail that deserves your full attention. On July 4th, the Moon travels through its waning phase as it approaches the last quarter of its cycle. This timing adds another meaningful layer to the portal itself, because it means these extraordinary planetary activations unfold during one of the quieter, less visible stages of the lunar rhythm. Whatever intentions you establish during this period begin beneath the surface rather than in public view. They may not receive immediate recognition. Others may not understand what you are creating. Validation may appear absent at first, but this hidden beginning is often the very environment where the deepest transformations take root. Then, on July 14th, the new moon in Cancer provides the emotional foundation that allows those unseen beginnings to establish themselves securely within your life. The process continues unfolding until July 29th, when the full moon in Aquarius, intensified by a rare conjunction between the Sun and Jupiter, brings those earlier efforts into unmistakable public visibility. What began quietly during the darkness of July 4th reaches its fullest expression beneath one of the brightest moments of the lunar month. Every stage follows the next with remarkable precision. The sequence has already been established. The planetary geometry remains exactly where it needs to be. The energetic doorway opens regardless of whether anyone feels completely prepared to cross its threshold. The real question, therefore, has never been whether this energy would arrive, because it has already begun unfolding. The only meaningful question concerns your response. Will unexpected change convince you to retreat into hesitation? Or will you allow the powerful awakening initiated by Uranus to become the spark that carries your vision through Neptune and ultimately grounds itself into lasting transformation through Pluto? Moments like this are exceptionally uncommon. The universe does not repeatedly create opportunities of this magnitude. Those who recognize them and choose to move with courage often discover that only 6 months later, their lives bear almost no resemblance to the ones they left behind. Looking back, they recognize this precise period as the defining turning point, the moment when an entirely different future quietly began. Perhaps this is exactly that moment for you. If this message has stayed with you until the very end, thank you for sharing your time and attention. If you found value in these insights and would like to continue exploring future astrological guidance together, consider subscribing so you will not miss what comes next. Your support truly makes this work possible. I also invite you to share your own thoughts, experiences, or reflections in the comments, because every perspective adds another meaningful layer to the conversation. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself, stay connected to your intuition, and join us again for more thoughtful explorations of the cosmic patterns shaping our lives.